Hello. In this video, we are going to cover Chapter 13, Intellectual Property Rights, Ethics, Health, Access, and the Environment. So, our key takeaways from this chapter are that we want you to understand what intellectual property is. This is a term that we use a lot, and I'd like for us to make sure that there's a common definition of what intellectual property is, what it means, and how we have to respect intellectual property. Along those lines, when we talk about respecting intellectual property, we're going to take a look at ethics and be able to determine the difference between ethical and unethical behavior in computer-related matters. We may look a little bit at the physical and emotional health risk associated with computers. This is more about ergonomics. And then we'll talk about the impact of different aspects of our individuality, whether it be nationality, income, race, education, disabilities, have you, on computer access and use. Okay? So, an overview, we're going to, again, talk about intellectual property, ethics, impact on our health, and then equal access to computers. So let's just dive directly in. What are intellectual property rights? Well, everything that we see on a computer has been created by someone. Now, unlike a hammer or a house, and I'm just going to doodle a little house, you can actually see this house, it's tangible, and you can determine who owns it. But when it comes to things on the computer like software or blog postings or articles, that property, that collection of thoughts in written form, do belong to someone, and that person has intellectual property rights. So what that means is that whether it be music, movie, paintings, computer graphics, other works of art, there is a person who has the rights to profit from that material. All right, and those are called their intellectual property rights. The way that those rights are issued and maintained are through copyrights, trademarks, and patents. So let's take a look at a copyright. Copyright is a term I hope you have heard before today, and it certainly is just a rights to the copy of a material. Now, the way it works is that if you were to create something, a literary work or an artistic work, it will last, your ownership of that work lasts 70 years after your death. Okay? Now, for anonymous rights or corporate copyrights, it lasts 95 years from the date of publication or 120 years from the date of creation, whichever is shorter. So if you were to write an amazing book today in 2017, and you were to live till 2090, the copyright would last until 2160. So that would be the end of the copyright, after which it would go into the public domain, which means anyone can use it or listen to it or sell that work without your permission. Okay? A couple things. A copyright goes into force immediately after something is created. It can be registered, but it does not have to be registered. So this is a can, not have to. People can use your work in a fair way. A good example is if I was to show a short video in teaching this course, that's fair use because I'm not profiting off the work. I'm just using it as an example. And then the other thing, something that's kind of a recent issue, is that musicians have been requesting the rights back to their work after 35 years. So what does this mean? If you were to make a deal with Atlantic Records, I know we probably have some budding musicians in this class, and you signed the deal in 2000, back when you were 2. In 2035, you could regain the rights to that music because it's been 35 years, and then you could sell it and profit on it, and the amount of time that Atlantic Records had to profit on it would come to an end. So that's a copyright, and taking a look at it, here's how statements express copyrights. I'm not going to read this to you, but in essence it says that everything that's included is copyright to this person, okay? Now, how do you indicate that something's copywritten? First, you can use one of these statements unwritten. Something else is you can put a watermark on something that is visual, like art or pictures. You can also do an audio watermark where the name of your company is repeated throughout the audio message. There's DRM, which makes it difficult to listen to or watch or view copyrighted works without approved software. This is the case for a lot of MP3 sites. MP3 sites. And this is also the case for Blu-ray and other ways that we distribute this digital content like music, photographs, or movies. Okay? Here's an example of digital watermarks. You can view this in your book. And then there are new applications for doing this. There's Digimark, which allows you to recognize stuff that is paper and kind of then get a little added content here. This stuff is pretty cool. And this is, when we talk about ways that we can see other technologies coming together, we've talked about virtual reality and augmented reality in the past. And, this would be a really good application for AR or VR, where you actually just purchase something physical like a sheet of paper, and it unlocks a bunch of digital content within an approved device. Okay? So we took a look at copyrights. Let's take a look at trademarks. Now, a trademark is simply a word, phrase, or symbol or design that identifies a good or service. Mostly we see these associated with brands. So when we think about the big trademarks that we recognize, they are, McDonald's, Sonic, Skype, eBay. And these trademarks are not just the word, but the actual styling of the logo. So if you see the golden arches like this, you're going to think about a Happy Meal or a clown or McDonald's. And if some other company was to, create some mild variation of it, like, boom, boom, and a little hook, that is still very close to this design and would be infringing on McDonald's intellectual property, okay? Along with that, there are domain names. So this is McDonald's.com or Sonic.com, those things. Now, in the past, what people used to do is they would cyber squat. So let's say there's someone in this class who I think will be rich and famous based on their ideas that they submitted in one of their reflections of technology. So I go to a place like GoDaddy and I register studentname.com. And let's say it's your name. And then when you become rich, I try to sell you your name back for, $100,000. That is cyber squatting. Now, cyber squatting is not illegal, but a lot of people believe it's unethical. The other thing is also typo squatting, which is where people, if I'm in a hurry and instead of typing in Google, I accidentally hit the H key, which is next to the G, and I type in Hoogle.com. Well, what some folks can do is they can link this to a web page that shows a bunch of advertisements and begin to make some money because of individuals accidentally typing in a typo. It's amazing the lengths that people will go through to create some value from little to no work. And cyber squatting and typo squatting are examples of that. Now, the last one are patents. Now, a patent is for a product or an invention, something physical that you want to create, or something digital that you want to protect. Now, a patent lasts for 20 years, okay? And the way that works is that a company, Google or Amazon, would outline exactly how their process works. And then once they have that outlined, they send this to the patent office, and then, if approved, they can get a patent protection for 20 years, which means that after the one-click purchase procedure was registered, Amazon was the only website allowed to do that for 20 years. And patents are expensive. Up to this point, some of these things have been fairly inexpensive. A copyright is free. You write something, you automatically own the rights to it. A trademark is between $750 $1,500. You know, it's inexpensive. But a patent can be between $15,000 and $40,000. Because anytime you try to get something patented, they have to go back and search for all the previous patents to see if you infringe on a patent that is already in force. Okay? So, here's a quick quiz. And the answers are at the bottom. But just some questions to think about. How long, the 70-year period on copyright, when is it valid? True or false? Unlike names of companies, products, logos cannot be trademarked. And blank are used to protect inventions. Well, of course, we know that it's after the death of the creator. False, you can trademark logos, and patents protect inventions. I think we're at a good stopping point. We'll pick up in the next video in ethics.